Welcome to Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse. Innovative Strategy is a show designed to help people with their business and personal financial literacy, but not in the way that you have known. This is not your grandpa's financial literacy, as Bill uses his 30-plus years in the financial industry to stretch your financial box from, let's say about a 30,000-foot view of things. Bill and his guests have helped hundreds of clients achieve and surpass their financial goals. If you have any questions, please email Bill at Bill@BillHasse, that's Bill at BillHaase.com, or reach out to him right here at 216thenet@gmail.com.
Good morning, Drew. How you doing?
Bill, how are you, sir?
I'm happy. I'm excited today. I'm very excited today because we got a guest on today that's a person on a mission, much like my own, and trying to provide financial literacy so people can understand.
Well, that's great. Guys like me, I'll put two numbers together and get a color. It's not something that I'm great at. I can build a business. I can run a business. I can give you all the innovative solutions that you need to make a business work. But when I got to look at those numbers, I turn green. I fall to the ground. I pout like a child. So it's not one of the things I'm great at. So having, Connor on today is going to be great.
Most small, even medium-sized business owners, they're more likely to know a bit more about their management sheets and financial sheets. But most small business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, they don't have a clue.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just an easy way to get ripped off, folks, because my son's father-in-law had a gal working for him for 30 years in his business at his company. He knew the gal since like high school or even earlier. Mm-hmm. I mean, so he knew and trusted this gal implicitly. Well, it turns out after 30 years, she retires. A couple months later, I gather she passed away, and they were going through the books for the new person and found out she had stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars from the business.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal, man.
That's a business owner who didn't know how to look at his books and read the books.
Well, right, because if you are a business owner and you can't count, at least, right?
Yeah.
But your accountant knows how to count.
Well, let's bring our guest in, Connor Tyson, today. Connor, thank you for joining us. Really love having you here.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for allowing me on.
We're going to bring up your website here in a little bit, but why don't you give us a little bit of a background on who you are and what, your mission on financial literacy?
Yeah, so it all started way back when I was a kid, right? My parents would frequently fight about money and so on and so forth. So I knew there was something to this money thing. So I took it and I pursued it, and I got a degree in finance. Started working down on Wall Street, became a financial advisor for 22 years. And throughout that whole time, I just realized that it's really about habits and behaviors, and they don't teach this stuff in schools, right? And regardless of the amount of money you make, people are trying to, I say, build a car driving down the highway, right? And it shouldn't have to be like that. So I put the flag in the ground. I became a financial coach, and really just to help people meet them where they're at and shape the relationship they want to have with money moving forward and help them.
Yeah, interesting you bring up relationship with money, because a lot of people don't even know what that is. They don't know personally what that is for them, other than the fact that I always want more, so I can buy more things and get more stuff. And I had a conversation with the gal yesterday, and I brought up the fact, I said, isn't it interesting? And maybe it doesn't happen to you, but it happens to me, where I go in a store and I don't have any money. I'm broke at the time, and I look in that store and I want everything. Everything looks great. It's awesome. Yeah. But I can't get anything. And then I go back to that same store a couple of weeks later after I get my paycheck, and I look in there and I can afford anything and nothing looks good.
Yeah. I tell people I help them stop the eternal tug of war with their personal finances, right? So that eternal tug of war is either not having enough money or having it and not knowing what to do with it, and the overwhelm and stress, the confusion, all those emotions, right? The internal tug of war. So yeah, we've all been there.
Well, there's emotions, and it creates stress, which can be turn into a health issue, relationship issues, spouse issues, work issues,
Divorce. Yeah.
I mean, when you think about what's the main source of the majority of your problems in life, it probably has something to do with money.
Yeah. Through the lens of money, it touches all those different areas of the wheel of life, right? So, like you just mentioned a few of them: relationships, right? Career, a whole lot of things, right? Relationships with others, a big one, and the emotions internally, right? So you have guilt, shame, remorse, all those things that are going on inside people's lives, and they're trying to figure it out as they're going down the highway, right? And it's
Have you ever wondered, with money being such a big part of life, why is it nobody, you said it, we aren't taught this. We aren't taught it in schools. We aren't taught at home because our parents don't know, because their parents didn't know, and so on and so on. But why is it where people don't actually go out and learn about it? I mean, it's all over the internet.
It is. It is. It's really. It's funny because there is a taboo, but it's kind of changing now, where people are realizing like this is a real issue. So people are kind of opening up about it now. But if you didn't grow up with positive role models teaching you about money, it's almost like I should know this. The ego and pride that you have associated with it, and people just don't talk about it until it becomes a crisis almost.
And it's funny, just because that person drives a fancy car, might live in a big house, nice clothes and everything, doesn't mean that person isn't having financial issues.
Yeah, I look behind the curtain a lot. You're absolutely correct on that one.
I mean, I'm sure people that make 6 and even 7 figures that are literally pretty much broke.
Yeah, paycheck to paycheck. It happens fast, right? So it's like, how do you boil a frog? It's the same thing, meaning like the 2 car payments, the credit cards, the student loan debt, the mortgage, the this, the that. And before you know it, yeah, you're in the same situation. I say just add a zero. So you're making $860,000 a year, 360. It's the same person that's making 86,000 or 56,000. It's just add a zero. It's the same. Yeah. It's the habits and behaviors.
Yeah, exactly. I do remember standing at the end of my driveway at my first home and looking down this long driveway, long ranch house, and going, wow, I never saw this coming. I got 2 kids running around in this house. I got 2 cars in the driveway. I got the mortgage. I'm going, if you'd asked me even 3 or 4 years prior to that, if I would ever be in that position, I'm like, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
But, people go to their, you go, oh, I want to go buy my first home. So we get pre-approved for $250,000. You tell your realtor, we're pre-approved for $250,000. What does a realtor do? Shows you a $320,000 home.
Yep.
Of course. Yeah.
Same thing with the car purchasing, right? So they always tell you how much down and how much a month. They never really tell you how much.
Exactly.
Right? It's all about financing and convenience. Let's keep it moving here, people, right? And it's
you're already when you go walk into a dealership and they say, well, what are you looking to pay? And that you say about $300 a month. You're doomed. You're already doomed.
Yep.
Because they got just the car for you.
Yep. They'll stretch that lease out. They'll make that fit that payment, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. And it's my daughter did this last fall and called me up and she just said, Dad, I don't want to lecture, but I need your advice. I'm at a dealership and I'm like, oh God, no. And she goes, is this a good deal? I said, well, if you don't mind paying 42% interest, it's a great deal. And she's just silent. And I go, that meant no, honey. That meant no. Get up and walk away. And then I kind of explained to her how to calculate that before she went to the next dealership. And because I wasn't going to talk her out of buying a car she can't afford. And then I said, here's what to expect. I mean, sales, everybody who's in sales knows one of the best ways to sell is through emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I said, you're going to get the sales manager is going to walk out at some point. He's going to walk up and say, don't you just love that car? Don't you just feel it's you? And you look.
Yeah, sit in it. How's that feel? Yeah.
And she comes back after going to another dealership and she said, Dad, he came out and he almost verbatim said what you told me he would say. And I laughed. And the guy said, why'd you laugh? He goes, well, my father told me word for word, this is what you would say. But it's so true with any and all objects. I mean, we fall in love with it and now we have to have it. I don't care
Yes.
if it's a piece of clothing, car, a house.
Shiny object syndrome, I call it.
Yeah.
There's always something.
Yeah. So tell me, what are some of the things that you do in your business?
Yeah, so really, I coach people in that there's three main areas, right? So refocus, gain clarity, right, of what's important to you. It's never about the money usually, right? So it's like, I want to get out of debt, or I want to learn, get control of my money, or what is it preventing you from doing? What is it preventing you from feeling? How long have you felt like this? What have you tried in the past? And then you gain clarity of what's really important to you, right? Your principles and values, right? So family, right? I've heard about your story about your daughter, and like, these things are they aligned with what your money's doing now? And then the second phase is get control, right? So get control is really the tools and resources they need. I meet them where they're at. And let's say they need help with budgeting or a money plan. I hate the B word, but making a plan for your money, right? And then, okay, now I have some debt. How do I pay this debt off? You need some more tools and resources, right? And then the last step is taking action, right? Execute the plan, which is the accountability and follow through, right? And it's human nature to avoid those things you don't understand,
Absolutely.
right? And you're going to revert back to the things that make you feel comfortable. And if you don't have accountability and follow through, chances are you're going to revert back to what you used to do and you get the same results. So I coach people through these different phases. I usually work with people for 3 to 6 months. And it's different for everybody. Wherever you are on this journey, you might be, the kids just left the house, right? Empty nesters. I got to reevaluate what's going on in my life. Or you're just starting out. You got your first new job. You're a newlywed. You got two people coming into a life together. Total game changer. You better have a real good operating system of how you're going to work with money together and carry the yoke together and communicate about it in a healthy manner, right? And so, yeah, we coach people through that. We don't sell any products or services. It's really just helping them get what they want. And when I say build the relationship with money, it's their relationship, right? What is it they want to have money do for them? It's not about the money, right?
It's nice that you say we don't sell anything too, because a lot of people are going to sit there and think, oh, he's just trying to sell me an investment product or an annuity or insurance policy or something. But and you're going to, and those are things that people don't understand the value of and the importance of the portfolio. But let's get to, okay, I'm paying off debt. Well, should I contact one of those guys on TV that say, we'll reduce your debt by, 50?
The debt consolidation programs or something?
Because if I don't do anything and I just do the minimum payments, it's going to take me 46 years to pay this off. And it's like, you could make extra payment.
Yeah, it's really about, like I said, the habits and behaviors, the intentionality, right? So usually debt consolidation programs, you have 7 piles of debt, and all they do is now you have one big pile.
Yep.
It seems like it's a solution, right? The debt is a symptom of a bigger disease. Why is it that we're in this position in the first place, right? So we help people understand, like you said. So with those products, I used to ask 2 questions, right, Bill? So it's, why do you own it, and how does it benefit you? And you get blank stares, right? And it's usually, oh, my advisor said it was a good idea. Why do you think that is, right? And which goes back to the whole thing of sales and all that stuff. But people are thirsty for knowledge, right? So it's really about empowering them, helping them give the knowledge, right? Knowledge is power. Once you have the knowledge, you're empowered to take action because you understand the why, not what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody kind of knows, as an inkling of what to do, right? Spend less than I make, avoid debt, save, give. We know this, but somewhere along the line, they hit a roadblock.
I've heard that before.
It doesn't work, right? So it's,
You know how people don't at all ever want to write down everything they spend money on. It's like, take a week. Try to write down everything you spent money on. It's difficult. And you find out that you're spending, $150, $200 a month at Starbucks. Well, you talk about somebody who's in their mid-20s, even the early 30s or whatnot, that you put $150, $200 a month away into an investment.
Nice.
You're probably going to live a much better retirement life.
Let me add to that a little bit. So You know, what people don't realize too is you hear all the complaining about the interest rates, you hear all the complaining about the inflation, but then they go spend $6-7 for a cup of coffee, right?
Right.
So priorities aren't there. So with what Connor does, obviously I can tell a mile away you're a relationship builder. And that sells itself, because for what you do, 9 times out of 10, it's about the who and not the how. If you don't know how and you don't have the time for how, you got to find the right who, not just the who, but the right who, especially when you're talking about money and then your livelihood, right? I have something that is called a wife, and she manages. If it was right, well, yeah, I know.
Okay.
We're on air allegedly. But no, she manages our books. She comes from a family of CPAs, and like I told you guys before, numbers isn't my gig, right? So she lets me know as a team. She lets me know what we have, what I can, what I can't do. I love the fact that Connor brought up, if why do you own it, and how does it benefit you? Because my wife will do that with me, and I'll just go yes. Because I want it,
because it looks good and with me,
right? But did you see how cool it was? Those aren't necessarily right, especially if you're on the B word. We call the B word, right? The budget. So let me ask you a question, Connor.
Yeah.
How important is it to find the right who, and how do you give tips and tricks of that trade to the clientele that are out there?
Yeah, so it's very important, right? Because it's somebody that you're going to be trusting with your financial future and the path that you're going to be taking, and someone to partner with through that journey. So what is it that we do? First of all, we step back, right? And we gain clarity, right? Refocus what's important. What type of relationship? What are the important things that you're going to be looking for in a relationship with somebody to help you in this area of your life? Just write down some characteristics. Right. And it's not a marriage. If you're not getting what you want and you think you deserve, which is a lot, then find somebody that will. Right. So are you looking for communication? Are you looking for education? Are you looking for somebody that's going to be proactive and help you become more intentional? Someone that's going to hold you accountable. So when you're making boneheaded decisions, they're going to say, listen, this is probably not in line with your principles and values of what you ultimately want. Right?
I don't want to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Right.
Quite honestly, people don't.
Yeah.
And that's well put. That's well put, Connor. I appreciate you answering that question. Second question I would have for you would be, what are the biggest challenges you face to try to get through the perspective of what people need to do when you're dealing with a new client?
Good question. So it's really about trying to help them form their why. So I have a lot of people come to me and say, listen, I'm burdened with, I'm stressed out, I'm frustrated, I have a lot of debt, or I don't know where my money's going. I make good money, I just don't know where it's going, right? I shouldn't be this broke for the amount of money I make. So it's not about the money. So it's, what is it preventing you from doing and feeling? What's important to you, right? And trying to really build their why, because it's the transformation of habits and behaviors. And if you don't have a really good motivation of why you're starting this journey in the first place, chances are 2.5 months from now, you're going to revert back to what you were doing originally. So building out that why and getting clear on what they're doing and why they're doing and why it's important, we write that out in clarity. And then when there's a little bit of resistance or internal struggle, read the why. Is this still true for you?
I love that, because that is so important. People will revert back. That's just human nature. Why is the buzzword, I think, this year? How many books are coming out? Know your why and everything. And I've had some conversations with some authors. Dr. Janet Palmer is one, and it is important. It is interesting, and especially financially, but
it helps you. Yeah, I mean, it helps you prioritize things too. Like, I have all these goals, things I want to accomplish. What do I do next? If you have clarity on your priorities, it gives you clarity on what to do next, usually, or it gives you direction. It's something to lean back on in tough times also.
Yeah, money's a tool to achieve those goals. Um, but it's tough when you talk the B word, the budget word, and people don't understand is, write your budget out. What are your fixed costs every month that have to be paid? Your mortgage, your car payments, and things like that. What are your variable costs, your credit cards, utilities, things like that? What's left over? And people are like, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, you don't understand that when gas prices go up 30 cents a gallon overnight and you're paying more, yeah, but it's $4 more $5 more when I fill my tank. Big deal. Yep, there's $5 less in your pocket. Then you go to the grocery store and prices are up 15%. There's less money again in your pocket, and you're trying to figure out where's my money going? Because
you bring up a really good point, right? So a budget, or the B word, I hate this word, right? Budget is just a tool. It's just a tool to get you to a greater piece of clarity, right? And it really helps you with your behavior of, instead of being reactive and wondering where your money went and looking backwards, you become intentional and tell your money where to go.
Right.
So before the month starts, I already know where my money is going, or I set my intention of, this is what's important in March, right? Chicago, New York, St. Patrick's Day. Okay, great. I'm probably going to have some people over my house. My grocery budget is going to be a little bit more. I already know this, and I can change some things around to fit what is important to me. I'm being intentional, the habit, the behavior.
Well, wouldn't that reduce the stress?
Yes.
Reduce the problems that money causes within a relationship, within your work.
But Bill, don't you know that if you don't look at it, you don't know it, and therefore, who cares until it just hits rock bottom, right? I mean, isn't that how it works, Connor? I mean, for most.
Yeah, it's just like, why is the grass always green on the other side?
Right.
It's because that guy takes care of his lawn, right? So it's like those things you give attention and energy to grow.
Yeah.
And if you ignore it and don't give it the attention it almost demands, it'll wither and you'd be a really ugly thing.
I want to point out again a way to get in touch with Connor and have a conversation with him. It's a free consultation that he offers. It's at progressfc.com. That's PROGRESSFC.com. FC for financial coach.com. That's a way to be able to reach out to Connor, get a hold of him, book a free consultation. And that's what's important. Like you brought up, Connor, it's a two-way street. For you're looking at folks to see, all right, are these people I can work with and want to work with?
Yeah.
And they're looking at you saying, is this a guy I can work with and want to work with?
Yeah.
It is a two-way street, and a lot of people don't understand that. People go to a financial advisor because, Joe down the street, that's who he uses, and Tom over here uses that same guy, so I'm going there. That doesn't mean Tom and Joe know anything about the difference between a good financial advisor and one who's less than good. And that's the majority of them are less than good because they're all trained in a specific way by a specific company. And they don't really understand the market as a whole and the business as a whole.
Yeah.
But,
so I got another question for you. Connor.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think people are out of sight, out of mind, right? So first part of the question is how important is it to run a cost analysis internally in your life? And two, to shop out consistent on your fixed costs?
A lot. So good question. So that's kind of a loaded question, but there's a way of, I say you want to be more of an aware consumer, right? So I use an acronym called SMART, SMART, right? So S is be self-aware. Is this what I'm purchasing going to bring value to my life and ultimately get me where I want to go? R, research. Have I done my research? Is this the right vendor? Is this the right price? Have I shopped it out? Have I gotten opinions from other people, right? Research. M is motive. What's my motive, right? What's my motive in buying this? Am I happy, sad, trying to buy prestige? Am I trying to feel better about myself, right? And then time. What's the time opportunity cost, right? So if I purchase this thing, for me, it would be Steelers tickets or, New York Giant football tickets. I can't purchase or put money into my Roth IRA, right? Or I can't put money towards my family vacation. What is it that what's the opportunity cost here? And then, you have to sit down with somebody and kind of bounce ideas, because I can convince myself of almost anything. But when I have a partner or somebody to run it by for accountability reasons, they know what's important to me.
Yeah.
And they kind of give me some clarity on that. So it's kind of pause, hit the brakes, and evaluate those things. All those things are cost benefit analysis. So it's not just the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets caught up in the numbers. It's just being a more aware consumer of what's going on, what's important to you, and staying focused on that.
And that's why having a third party, great answer, by the way. That's why having a third party like Connor is important, because there's, the devil on your shoulder is going to always tell you to do it. Right. And if you look at the other shoulder, that guy might look at the devil and be like, yeah, I agree with him, because it's all three of you. Right. But having a third party that you might get the answer you don't want, but it's going to be the right answer in order to progress and climb that ladder. Right. So, yeah, well said. Well said.
Well, if you find yourself out there looking to make a purchase on something and it's not a good idea, but you're going to go ahead and do it anyway. You're not going to consult with Connor. You're not going to consult with your spouse. You're going to figure out a way to get this done.
Right.
At whatever cost. And cart horse thing. Like, I was trying to talk with my daughter, and I hope she's not watching today. We're saying, her idea was, if I get a car, I can then go out and get another job, and that will pay for the car. I'm like, well, what if you don't get another job? Oh, well, there's jobs all over. Right? Not really.
They say there is, but there's really, let's just be honest.
She's talking about going out and being a bartender or working at a coffee shop or a cheese shop and something like that. And I said, that's great if that's a second job for you, but
So I love where you're going with this, Bill, and I think Connor will contest to this. So you can buy that car. You really want that car, you can buy that car, but talk to Connor. Because
the average car payment is $600 a month right now, Bill.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's crazy.
And he's going to help you try to work towards that goal. If that's your goal, if that's your passion, and that's what you want, you have to find a way to reallocate those funds.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you need somebody on the outside to be like, you can't do that right now. So let's put a timeline on it. Let's do our research. Let's do our homework. Where are we at financially? This is where you're at now. How do you obtain more money? Am I hitting the right spots here?
Yeah, I mean, it's also like, it's not the big ticket items that kill people, right? So I always say, how do you lose $10,000 a year?
Nickel and dime.
Right? It's spend $27.40 a day without knowing where it went, right? So I could do that before lunch.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So $10,000 is a nice family vacation.
Yeah.
It's a down payment. It's less stress and burden and choice. Money's just, like you said, is it a goal or a tool, right? That was the conversation we were having. And
yes,
all money does is just gives you some freedom and options and choice, right? In the beginning, if you don't have the basic necessities, yes, it's a goal, right? You need to have the basic necessities taken care of. But once you have that, it becomes a tool to enrich your life. And the family vacation, you're not saving money for the vacation. You're saving the money for the experiences that you're going to have on the vacation, the memories, that's the stuff, right? So that's what the goals and values are that you want to instill. I want to spend time with my family. Family's important to you, right? So $27.40 a day.
Yeah. Well, I love that you bring it up with the vacation thing, because we often said as financial advisors that people will spend more time planning their vacation than they will their retirement. And they still get it wrong, because you plan a vacation, you're still going to spend more money than you budget for. Yeah. It's going to happen. I went on a ski trip with my family one time, and I remember the very first day, a ski came off, went over a cliff, bye-bye ski. Guess who's got to get a new set of skis? Was that in the budget? No.
You can't ski on one ski. What kind of skier are you?
I could in those days.
Seriously.
Me neither.
I don't have one good leg now, but I love your answer. I love your. It's the mindset. It's think about the ultimate, the goal that you're trying to achieve, and then use the money as a tool.
Gain clarity of what's important to you. There's different areas. Once you're established and you have some money coming in, you use it as a tool to get those things in your life. So let's say you want to have social impact, right? So if I'm charitable or I can give donations, that's to try to further what's important to me, my goals and values in what other area. Or I can use money to leave a legacy for my kids as a tool, right? So it's not like wealthy people like Elon Musk. Do you think money's a goal for him? No, it's a tool to get those things in which he desired, right? Innovation or whatever it is, right? So that's the idea.
Totally agree with that. And if my parents were still around, I would hope that they thought of that very same ideas, leaving a legacy of finance to their children. But I know all kids, look to that at some point. But you never count on anything like that. That's like counting on winning the lottery, and which is a lot of people's retirement plan.
Yeah, we have one. That's one of the goals. A lot of people. I want to teach my kids about money. So we have a program to help people teach their kids about the principles of money. It's important because they're probably going to take care of you one day, right? So you better know. It's kind of an investment in yourself.
And think about that, because my mother's been in a home for 7 years, or no, coming up on 10 years now, at about $6,000-7,000 a month. Who plans for that?
Yeah.
And then who's going to wind up paying for that? So you do need to think ahead. It's challenging when you're in your 20s. You got the whole world.
I was living the life.
Hands, and you're not thinking.
I don't remember my 20s.
You had a good one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was in the 80s, so I don't remember much of that either. But yeah, I mean, so young folks don't understand the value of getting a good start. They get a new job out of college. What's a 401k?
Well, that's funny, and I know, Bill, you preach this a lot, and it's really well said. So in schools, I got two kids. I got two girls at home, right? And one's in high school, one's in middle school. High school has a business class, but they don't have a class specifically on this. Yeah. And now, even in their business class, they only touch this like the tip of the fingernail. It's all about brand awareness. It's all about everything else, and marketing and business and startup and everything else. And they might, hey, this is how you create a business plan and everything else. But nobody tells you how to use the B word correctly. Nobody tells you how to manage your own funds, right? Yeah. In order to have a successful life.
It's funny you bring that up, because I volunteered at a school and in their what they call their incubator program. It's one that is across the country. Many schools have. It's where extracurricular course in which you learn how to build a business. And the kids I was mentoring asked me, they said, "Can you teach us the financial side of business?" And I said, "Well, that's going to be tough, because what do you know about personal finance?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Okay, simple question. How do you know how much you have in your bank account?" "Oh, that's easy. I go to the ATM, I put my card in, and it tells me."
On a piece of paper, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and one girl actually answered to me. She goes, "I get an email that says I'm overdrawn. That's when I know I have no more money in the bank."
Yeah, and insufficient funds.
But look, we're trained early on. We go to college. Your freshman year of college, you get a debit card. Mom and dad get to load it up. You can use it at the food hall, the stores. You can use it in town in many cases. I told you about a friend of mine whose son is at Auburn. He could buy a car at the dealership with it. And mom and dad have to replenish it. Whenever you run low, you call home, you cry, "I'm starving. Please, I didn't mean to spend it so fast. I'll be better. Just give me more." And you go through 4+ years of college learning how to spend with a credit card, debit card, and never having to pay it back.
Well, yeah, you can also take it further that I'm also being trained that anytime I need money, I just go to mom and dad.
Right. or I'll just use my credit card.
Yeah, swipe the card, right? And that's again human. These companies are pretty smart, Bill, right? So they have a whole room of behavioral scientists that know if let's go back to the Starbucks, right? Real quick.
Okay.
I'm in line. I have a card. I'm getting the Venti. My friends are getting the Grande. Everything's good. Maco Whip, all that, right? If I have a $20 bill in my hand, cash, yeah, I'm getting probably the small and they're on their own because I feel that. I feel that pain.
Yeah.
Where if a credit card separates you from that immediate feeling of spending money. You don't feel it until, I guess, the billing cycle is 28 days.
Yeah, roughly.
You don't even feel it. So that's the whole design of it. It's human behavior. They're not, and points and miles. And I think that credit card in freshman year I got, that came with a free t-shirt, right? So it's all to get you into the system.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. You're used to it. The number came out this morning. The average debt on a credit card is now $6,300 for the first time ever. That's the highest number ever.
Per American.
For Americans. Add to that the fact that we have overall the highest credit card debt ever at the highest interest rates ever. Those are not good numbers to brag about.
Yeah, my phone's been ringing recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You're not even mentioning student loan debt. I've heard that on the news too. Been buzzing around, right?
Yeah,
it's getting scary out there.
Yeah, my kids both complain about it consistently, and they were all over this. Biden's going to give us 10 grand. I'm holding out until I get that 10 grand. And it's like, I don't see how you're going to get it, but.
So for guys like us in our generation, right? Cash is king. And I love that you brought up the $20 bill. Because there's places now that won't even take cash.
Cashless, yeah.
So I guess my next question to Connor would be is what are your thoughts or what is the theory about the existence of cash into the near future versus the credit card, and how will that affect the average consumer?
Well, I know that cashless doesn't benefit me, right? It's usually they're doing it to benefit themselves. I'm not aware of how much I'm spending. It goes back to the whole human behavior of feeling. There's emotion attached to it, where right now I can go into an Apple store and walk out with a brand new goggle set and everything else, and all I have to do is flash with my phone.
Right.
There's no cash. There's no cashiers. There's no nothing. I can walk out with $3,000 worth of items, and I feel weird, but that's going to be normal. So it's all by design to separate. It's the same reason why they use poker chips in casinos. Mm-hmm. If you actually had to lay out $100 bills every single time a hand was dealt, you would probably only play two hands and get up and walk. But I'm just splashing chips. I'll stay there for hours.
Just an item that identifies as. So, right.
Yeah. So do I think it's going to go cashless? Unfortunately, yes. Is it going to be catastrophic if people don't change their habits and behaviors and awareness? Yes. But there's, you can do something about it and become more aware. Because I don't.
Connor, that's something I just don't understand is people just don't. We have known for generations that money is an issue. Money causes all kinds of problems, and yet we don't do anything to learn about it. And I mean, I guess a lot of it is because, you can go to any bank website and they'll have financial literacy stuff for you to learn. But the problem you run into, and with a lot of other folks in businesses, they have an agenda. Their agenda is also to get you at your money. Mm-hmm. And that could turn people off. And I can understand that. Because everybody's out to get your money. I mean, what do you think every commercial on TV is for?
We're also the most marketed,
right. We
people pay also on planet Earth.
It's and strangely enough, we're one of the few countries that we don't negotiate. We negotiate on buying a home and maybe a car, but we don't negotiate for most of the things we buy in life. And you go to many parts of the world where it's almost offensive not to negotiate.
Yes, you're 100% correct on that. It's a big problem. That's why I chose to do what I'm doing. Like no one is really guiding people through what they need to be doing, why they need to be doing it, how to do it, and just empowering them to become more intentional. Like I talked about cash before. I know my numbers. I don't really need to spend the cash as much because I know my numbers, right? And when I started, yeah, everything was in cash envelopes, and I tracked everything for a little while, but until I started seeing the patterns, and then, oh yeah, I spend $160 a month on gas, and that's pretty much typical $10 or $20 either way. And then there's different categories that I knew. Most of my expenses in my life are fixed. I don't have to worry about those. The variable pieces, I'm going to be intentional, track it for a little bit. So I coach people for 3 months, 3 to 6 months. And within the 12 weeks, they know their numbers, they have a process, the peace of mind has come around, and they're more aware as a consumer. And that's what it's all about.
Awareness is very important because a lot of times we just don't take into account things like I just got a notice today that says, oh, by the way, your Ring cameras that you have, the service is going up 33%. It just said it's going up from $39.99 to $49.99. Or so that's 20%. So these nickel and dimes you at $10. Whoop you do.
Yeah,
that's not going to harm you.
Diming,
but then
sure.
your Netflix goes up $10.
Subscriptions
goes up $10. And all these little things, nickel and diming, as you brought up, these things add up, and they're eating away at your money in your pocket, and you don't even know it.
Yeah, which goes to the end point. What does it do? It just gives you less freedom and choice later on. Those who have money and are in control of it, wealthy people know what their money's doing, where it is, why it's there. Those who do not know, they don't have it, don't have much freedom and choice and flexibility in what they need to do. They have to stay in the dead end job. They have to pay the bills.
Right.
So
that's what it is.
Pride and ignorance, I think, is the downfall of our society because they don't want to let people know.
Ignorance, ego.
They don't know, and everybody wants to pretend that they're better than what they actually are, right? Because it's an image. And as you can tell, I'm a question guy, Connor. So
I love it.
Well, too, I want people out there to see that this is what you do and that you actually care. Versus the guy on TV that you can reach out to. He's a relationship builder and he's a numbers guy and he's there to help you. He likes to help people. And if you help 10, you get 20. That's just how he works. So a question would be, for the average Joe and the schmoes like myself out there, web bill pay, auto pay. If you don't, I guess my theory would be, and this question just kind of came up in my head. If you know your numbers, setting that's not such a big deal. But if you don't know your numbers, it forces you to look at what's happening to go on there and actually pay it physically. What are your thoughts to that?
So there's an actual business built around this. There's a whole business. I think it helps you organize all the subscriptions and see what you're paying twice on, and then cut these subscriptions. So people are so unaware of how many subscriptions they have, how much they're paying. Are they paying twice for the same service? Someone built a business for this direct issue. So am I an advocate of knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it? And does it provide value to your life? Yes. Web bill pay it's convenience. Like it always goes back to financing and convenience. Like I set up the subscription, I can set it and forget it. They want you to forget it. And then slowly but surely, wow, I can't afford a family vacation this year.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what happens. It's slow but methodical.
I think cell phone companies, that's a big deal.
Is going out. So My Check Free is shutting down next month.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Wow. Completely closed.
I think the mobility market is crushing on that, because if you have auto pay and you use your cell phone, it's not necessarily a want, it's a need, right? So you have that phone. You don't even use it as a phone anymore. It's your entertainment center. It's everything else in the world. But what you're not paying attention to is the bill because it's being auto paid. Next thing you know, the moment you glance at this actually happened to me. You glance at it, you're like, why is my bill like $2,000? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would be your cable bill.
Well, yeah, back in the day for sure. But on top of that, you're aware of what I sold my family's house. I lost my brother. Had to sell his house and everything else. Well, this is in the Schaumburg-Land area here in Illinois. I didn't realize because I dimmed down everything, the lights, the heater, the air conditioning, whatever it was, right? I to try to save on those utilities while I'm putting it on the market, so my fixed costs don't go up so high. What happened was, I guess, one of the toilets kept running.
Oh boy! Yep.
My bill there was $850. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when I talked to the municipal center and I was like, hey, listen, I don't live there. It's in trade. I don't even own it yet. It's not even transferred over to me yet. And they're like, yeah, pay the bill.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. Pay me.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they don't care.
So monitoring these things are, I guess, pretty important.
I went 3 years without getting a water bill from the county. Their fault. They didn't know we had bought the house, I guess, or something. I'm like, how do you not know, that somebody's living in a home when there's running water going? And they sent me a 3-year bill.
The same thing happened to me. Same thing happened to me.
Yeah. And they told me you had 14 days to pay it. Like, well, you screwed up for 3 years and I have 14 days. And actually I got this bill on December 15th. I'm like, oh,
so
right before Christmas.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on that a little bit, right? So you didn't get this bill for 3 years. You knew you were using water. And in their mind, they're like, you live there. You use water.
The water bill to my town. I didn't know there was a second water bill.
Oh.
That was
I had the they actually sent me a bill, but it was for access something to the pipe. So they knew that the water was going in. I came from the city where they don't charge for water. And I came out to suburbia. Right? Same thing. 3 years later, it was like $1,200. I was like, what? This is crazy. It's like going into a store and it's like a 2-for-1 deal. And you've been doing it and you're a valuable customer. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, it wasn't 2-for-1. We have to go back and charge you for everything you've ever used. I was like, what are you, out of your mind?
Yeah, or you didn't sign up on the app for this, so you actually
right.
Because they want that email information and everything else. But this is, I'm sorry, Drew, you had something?
Well, and I love the fact that you said access, right? So it's like, no, you pay for the water, but you didn't pay for how it gets to your house.
The usage, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't know I was renting the pipes. You know what I mean? I didn't know.
I asked other people in the neighborhood, I go, do you get 2 different water bills per month? They go, oh yeah. I'm like, okay, nobody ever said anything to me about this.
Wow. That's nuts.
And everybody's like, yeah, we've been doing that for 20 years. And okay. And I've lived in the neighborhood 18 years. You'd think I would have known, but no. We get caught with these things. So a few days ago, I wake up, I come out of the bedroom door, I step out and I go, holy cow, what is going on? It was 85 degrees in my house. Downstairs thermostat, batteries died while the furnace was on, so it just kept running. Now, I didn't know the batteries had died just yet. All I saw was there was just nothing. It was just blank and the heater's running. I go, how can it be dead and the furnace is running? And I'm going, oh, this can't be good. And my wife leaves to go to work. I finally texted her. I said, I think I figured this one out too. Just need a couple of AAA batteries to put in here. And she's like, oh, thank God. She goes, I was worried sick that the furnace is going to blow out.
Oh.
And we have 2. And so you're looking at double the cost, which can be thousands of dollars. And it's like, nobody prepares for that.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So there's things that I used to say, like, used to catch people off guard, quote unquote. It's just life. But then there's things like, oh yeah, my property taxes due, or I forgot about summer camp, or I forgot about Christmas. Like, Christmas is December 25th, people. Like, we know this. So why are we putting it on the credit card? If we know this, let's just be intentional and start saving. I just did a podcast about this called sinking funds, right? Sinking funds is just a strategy to save for things that you know are coming up. And then those things that catch you off guard, you have money set aside for life, right? The Murphy's going to come knocking on the door.
You know, life happens, you know, and it's funny because some people I've heard said one way to stash money away and save is open up a separate account, maybe even at a separate bank, and just slowly put money in there and you'll forget about it. Nobody forgets where their money is.
No.
You said it. The rich people know where all of their money is,
what it's doing there and why it's there.
Oh, and they're watching it every single moment of every day.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point again, in that some people have savings accounts, right? Like, oh, I have $27,000 in this account. What is it for? Oh, it's my rainy day fund.
Yeah.
Well, how about we actually give those dollars a purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that give some clarity and purpose to what your money's doing? Like, oh yeah, that'd be good. So this is for this, this is for this, this is for, and then you have it itemized. It's peace of mind, and you become more intentional. So when things come up, or you have a purpose for your money.
Yeah, make that money work for you too. I mean, don't put it in a savings account that's earning you 0.25% interest.
Well, and people don't know
because it's a guaranteed loser,
right?
You know, if cost of goods are going up 8% a year, you need to have your money making 8% to break even.
Yep.
So a dollar's still worth a dollar.
Yep.
Most folks don't understand.
I have an advisor, and he's a friend of mine. You know him, Jeff.
Yeah.
And he was like, listen, you got this money stashed in your savings account. I'm with 2 or 3 different banks. I almost got robbed once, to where they gathered it all to one account and tried to wire transfer everything out. So I broke up all my eggs is not all in one basket anymore, right? And so he was like, so what are you doing with that basic savings account that you have with your bank? And I was like, well, that's where we keep the money where there's injury or there's something, right? I'm part of my company is we do insurance. Okay. And one of my things is protect your investment, and you are the investment, right? If you have a supplemental insurance plan that you fall down the stairs and it's accidental insurance plan before it even gets to your major medical, it's covered, and that's going to save out of pocket too. Yeah. So it's about, right strategies. Well, with this being said, he was like, hey, listen, I got a 6% money market account right now. Why don't you move that and they're making money on your money instead of just sitting there waiting for an emergency to happen? And I was like, wow, that's a great idea. So then I was like, what else do I have? So I started pointing at him, and I locked up a few CDs for the kids and, for school, and did a few investments here and there. And then I have a revolving investment of, home flipping and stuff like that. But it's going to be, it's interesting that you don't realize that, because you just sit and wait. It's the average Joe. You just look at your money. It's in there. Okay. I want to hang on to it. I want to make sure it's there. But then you go out and you spend the $7 per cup of coffee. You nickel dime yourself. And then that starts draining through that instead of it sitting somewhere making money for you.
Yeah. It's I'm always about make your money do push-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have a different mindset here in the U.S. I was speaking with a gal yesterday. She just moved here from the UK. She's actually from Germany originally and married a gentleman in the UK, lived there. They moved here, and they have a different sense of money. And we were talking about it a little bit because, they're talking about how they've been through world wars where everything was just gone. And now we had that in the Big Depression, the Great Depression in the 1920s, late 20s and stuff. And that generation learned to penny pinch everything, right? And save and save and save. But now, I mean, our generation and our kids,
conditions,
they don't have these reminders of the value and importance of saving. I mean, America's saving rate is like, it's one of the worst in the world.
We're also the biggest consumers. We're also the biggest marketers. We're also the biggest. Yeah, the mindset of the old generation, right? They felt that pain of not having money, and then the way in which they dealt with money reflected that. Like they didn't trust banks. They didn't have, right? They used cash envelopes. They bartered. Right? This generation, we don't do it because they, number one, haven't had to until it gets so bad. Like it's
almost looked down upon for you to penny pinch and for you to say, I'm going to buy the cheaper version here. When everybody's more like, why don't you get this one? It's got to be better. It costs more.
Well, Super Bowl's coming. Did you get the 72-inch screen TV yet, Bill?
Actually, I'm a little guilty of that one.
Right? It's like, do you have the new Stanley Cup for $55?
Right.
Do you have the new iPad 26? Do you have the new Google? It's crazy. It's like, what are your needs and what are your wants? Let's establish a plan, be intentional, not react. Money is an innate object. It doesn't have any emotions. It'll do exactly what you tell it to do. And if you don't, it'll tell you what it did.
I always said, money doesn't care.
Well, it's
doesn't
funny,
care what clothes you wear, what car you drive, what house you live in, what color, gender, culture, doesn't matter.
Right.
Money doesn't care.
And the kids today, the young ones, in the new generations, they would rather rent a house. They don't want to own it. They would rather Uber versus buy a car. So there's a different structure from what we're used to what they're doing now. And that's why you get a lot of these investors out buying up the market, because then they're going to rent them out. And there's a lot of kids that'll just be like, yeah, I don't want the responsibility of owning it with the mortgage and the property tax and all that stuff that comes with
anything that breaks down and
because they don't even know how to do that.
Can we bring back up the website?
Of course,
because we're right here in the last
wrapping it up
3 minutes here, I believe. So we want to make sure everybody can know to go to Progress FC. That's PROGRESSFC.com. You'll be able to reach Connor Tyson there and sign up for a free consultation with him. I highly recommend it. I mean, people who know me know I am going out on the speaking circuit to discuss financial literacy. I'm going to be doing stuff with military and speaking financial literacy. It's become that important to me, and it's an extreme pleasure to meet someone else like Connor, who's on that same path and has that same mission, and obviously very, very good and well-versed at it. That's so important, folks. There are many people who might try to do these things and like financial advisors, but it's hard to find the good ones. And that's why we brought you on here today, Connor, because you are definitely
one of the good ones.
One of the good ones.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a great experience. The time went by fast. We talked about a lot of things. We can go on all day long, but I just want to thank everybody. Consultations, 45-minute consultation if need be, free of charge, just to meet you where you're at, what you're struggling with, and how we can help you get where you want to go.
It's worth it. It's you can't even put a price on how much it's worth because of what it can do for you throughout the rest of your life.
It can transform, it can change your family tree. You can do a lot of things. I've saved marriages. It's a beautiful thing.
Save health issues.
That's awesome.
Which will cost you more money.
That's right.
But, so Connor, thank you so much. We really greatly appreciate you coming on today.
Nice meeting you, sir.
And I look forward to future conversations with you.
Thank you.
For us here at 216 Creator Studios, I am Drew Cappuccino with Bill Hasse, Innovative Strategies. Check us out, YouTube 216 The Net. Click our live page. Make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe, and ding that bell. Appreciate your time today. Everybody have a great Friday.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice.